From making songs using a gaming device to getting into the studio with his idol Travis Scott and later performing sold-out shows in front of tens of thousands of people. This is Toliver For Dummies. Caleb Zachary Toliver, also known by his stage name Don Toliver, was born on June 12, 1994, and at the time of this recording, he is 30 years old, born in Houston, Texas. Okay, now here's some of the backstory. During some of his early years as a teenager, Don Toliver would often play video games in his room, and some of his favorite video games of all time being Jack and Dexter, Ratchet and Clank, and Grand Theft Auto. In his junior year, he would make his first song titled Bitch, I'm in the Building, where he would record it on his PlayStation iCamera, and it was apparently a high school classic in his high school. This song would feature Don Toliver rapping over Tyga's 2014 song Make It Rain, and where he would just black out the camera and would have the beat recording in the background. Don Toliver wasn't one of the most popular kids known in his high school, but what he was known for was his sneaker collection, often people coming up to him and giving him compliments for them. But he would start rapping under his government name Caleb, but recognized an opportunity to seize the moment in his high school, so he went back and made a song titled Pep Rally. It got to a point where some of the coolest kids in his school would come up to him and sing his song, letting him know that he might have a passion and a place in the music industry. So after high school, he would move out with his friend Josh into an apartment on Dairy Orford Road in Houston, Texas, with proper studio equipment. Purchasing their first, both Josh and Caleb would both change their names to Young Josh 93, and Caleb would change his name to Don Toliver, and the two would form a group called Playa Familia. While Travis Scott, who Don Toliver's inspiration was ascending throughout the leaderboards in music, Don Toliver's looking up to his hometown hero and eventually switched his style from rapping to singing. One day, and he attributes that to one day he was in the studio with one of his close friends, and his friend was being for real, straight up with him. He told him, rapping isn't always going to do it for you. The melodies are it. So he would inherently focus on melodies for the next year or so, and he would try to perfect it. In 2017, his friend Josh would drive 30 hours from Houston to New York in the spring of 2017 and would persuade Breakfast Club to allow him to do a freestyle upstairs. After nearly a year later teasing music on a live show, the two would release their first mixtape in May. Don Toliver and Josh both would save up enough money so the next time they could go back in the fall and capitalize on their previous momentum. They would work tirelessly, effortlessly to get their music in the hands of every radio host and music and label representative out there possible. They would show up to office hours. They would show up to the offices of the Breakfast Club and every major label executive and label outlet early in the morning, trying to catch faces that they could recognize. There's even footage of them handing Joe Budden handing their mixtapes as he enters the complex offices. Don Toliver's solo songs I Gotta, and Diva would release in the winter of 2017, and he would begin to gain popularity off of that, leading to him moving away from Playa Familia and him starting to work on his own solo career. During the NBA All-Star Weekend in 2018, while working on his mixtape, he discovered himself in the studio with the man he idolized so much and helped him switch his rapping from. He remembers the experience the first time he met him as one that he wasn't in his right state of mind, and it happened so quickly, and he ended up recording a record on the spot, which was very nerve-wracking for him, but he ended up making the song the whole way through. In July, Don Toliver would be invited out to Hawaii for the final Astroworld studio session, in which he would record the song Can't Say, which would later appear on the album. Donnie Walkman, Don Toliver's first and only mixtape, which was released on August 2nd, 2018. This project has a promising start and left me eagerly anticipating for his future work with the potential you can hear in his rapping and his singing itself is very evident. With songs like Video Game Girl and Around that shows off his R&B singing ability that he would later build upon and make an entire album off of. Or he also shows off his melodic rapping skills, in which his fans would come to love later down the line. That will come down the line and make him famous later. But with songs like Diva, Diamonds, Bang Bang, and Backhand. Also, Hold in the Steel featuring Dice Solo, I don't know if I'm saying that right, gives major similar vibes to when Travis Scott and Quavo collaborated for tracks and collaborated for an album back in 2017. This is some of his earliest work in his solo career, and also here are some of the songs I really enjoy off of this album. Heaven or Hell, Don Toliver's debut album, which released on March 13th, 2020. This album launched Don Toliver into the mainstream as an artist and gives major nostalgia vibes from 2022, especially the numerous number of TikTok users that use songs like Cardigan, No Idea, and After Party back then. He backs it up with very high highs on this album with two excellent R&B tracks in the form of Euphoria and Company. Travis Scott and Cassie Page's chorus establishes the tone and gives Euphoria a calming feeling. At the same time, Company is a great late night vibe song too. Here's some of the songs that I really enjoyed off this album. Life of a Don, Don Toliver's second album, released on October 8th, 2021. He digs deep into his melodic bag and has some very great tracks that come off of this album. Compared to his previous two bodies of work, firstly I want to say that the features on this album are tremendously well thought out and well put together, and they pair up well with this album, especially with songs like Smoke With featuring HVN and Sofago, and Flocky Flocky with Travis Scott on it. Also, this album has two of the most impressive R&B tracks I've heard in a minute, in the form of 2 AM and Drugs and Hella Melodies. You should listen to this Don Toliver album if you enjoy his singing and or his melodic flow and stuff like that. Here's a couple of songs that I really enjoyed off this album. Lovesick, Don Toliver's third album, which released on February 28th, 2023. This is Don Toliver's version of his R&B album. Don gives his best R&B approach to this album, and also still has some songs where he raps on the song with raps on, like No Pole, Leave the Club, and Private Landing, which has a fire feature verse. He also has some great features on songs like He also has some great features on this album with Charlie Wilson on If I Had, and Brent Faiyaz on Bus Stop, which has an amazing sample that I've never heard before. He also has a song with this girl Kylie Uchis on For Me, which gives a very Dominican music vibes, you know. Here's some of the songs I really enjoyed off this album. Hardstone Psycho, Don Toliver's fourth album that came out on June 14th, 2024, which was just released in the last couple of months. It has a very rock star and aggressive flow, especially on songs like Tora, which has a very sick guitar riff, and also Bandit that gives very but it gives like that motorcycle vibe where you just riding around with your boys in the middle of nowhere, which sets the mood for the upcoming tracks. Another aspect of this album that's really good is the amount of samples that he used, from artists like Tame Impala to Whitney Houston to even Pharrell. This album also has one of the most pretty songs in 2024 in the form of Glock. Here are a couple of songs I really enjoyed off this record.